Hey, this is Jeffey Hayzlett, host of C-Suite TV, the guy that likes to think big and act bigger and be relentless. You're listening to 360 Entrepreneur with Jan Ilinga.
This is episode 147, and in this one, we're gonna talk about think big, act bigger. Here we go.
Welcome to the 360 Entrepreneur Podcast, the show for entrepreneurs and small business owners who dream big and want to do bigger. Join some of the world's top entrepreneurs, internet marketers, and best-selling authors as they share their inspiring stories, their struggles, and give actionable tips that will help you build, grow, and promote your online business. Here's your host, Yanni Lunga.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to this new episode of the 360 Entrepreneur Podcast. Super pumped about this one, and this is really a must listen, and it doesn't really matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey. I mean, if you are about to get started or if you have just started out, this episode is for you, but it's for you even if you've been in business for 20 years and maybe you consider yourself successful. You have a fantastic community, you have plenty of customers, you're happy where you are with your entrepreneurial journey and your business. Well, regardless really of where you are, this episode is for you because today we're going to talk about the power of not only thinking big, so having dreams, great goals, but really acting bigger, so really taking action and crushing every single goal you set. And we're joined by author, entrepreneur, media personality, Jeffey Hayzlett. And really, I love the interview and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it too. The show notes for this episode are over at yannilunga.com/episode 147. Okay, here is Think Big, Act Bigger with Jeffey Hayzlett. Hey everybody, today we are joined by an incredible guest expert and I'm simply thrilled about having him here with us. He's a Primetime TV host of C-Suite with Jeffey Hayzlett, an executive perspective on C-Suite TV. He's also the business radio show host of All Business with Jeffey Hayzlett. He's a speaker, the chairman of C-Suite Network, and a best-selling author. His latest book, the third one, is titled Think Big, Act Bigger, The Rewards of Being Relentless. He's been featured in many places like Entrepreneur Magazine, Bloomberg, CBS Radio, Forbes, and he's here with us. I'm so happy to welcome on the show Jeffey Hayzlett. Hey Jeffey, how's it going?
It is great. Thanks for having me on the show today. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure is mine. And I have to tell you, I often have guests who are doing many things, but I think you are probably one of the busiest ones, really. You do so many great things. And, as a host, sometimes this kind of puts me in the spotlight because I'm like, okay, where should I start from? So I think the best way to actually start this conversation, Jeffey, is to ask you to tell us more about yourself and kind of how did you end up where you are today. I know that you probably have a very long story, but if we could tell us more about yourself in a couple of minutes here.
Absolutely. The story itself could take days or weeks maybe, because it's been a story of an overnight success and 55 years in the making. But, I've been a Fortune 100 officer. I've been an entrepreneur myself. I'm still consider myself an entrepreneur, even though I've gone off and become chief marketing officer of one of the biggest companies in the world, and now a TV host and a radio host and an author. I have three parts of my business. There's the business of what we call me, which my son and my daughter run, which is around the TV, the radio, the books, and we do millions of dollars in that every single year. And then we have the business. I have another company called Tallgrass, which is a public relations and social media company, which that company, the slogan is, if you want to run with the big dogs, you'll need to learn to pee in the tall grass. Which is kind of a Western cowboy kind of saying. And then we have that C-Suite network, which we're building. I've been very frustrated because, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on all these networks, but I'm always inundated by people I don't always want to talk to, and I want to talk to the people that I want to talk to. So what we've decided to do is create a network that vets itself and vets the people that come in and really focuses on the top executives of some of the fastest growing and biggest companies in at least in North America, and then we'll go worldwide. But that's in essence what we've been doing. And I've bought and sold over 250 companies in my career, well over 25 billion in transactions of those particular companies in terms of buying and selling them, and now I'm just doing the stuff I want to do.
I love it. And one of the things I know you really like doing is actually write books. So I was also telling you are the best-selling author of 3 books, and your latest one has been published recently, just a couple of months ago, and it's called Think Big, Act Bigger, The Rewards of Being Relentless. So Jeffrey, for the people who are here with you and I, the title I think is pretty self-explanatory and it's really intriguing, but still, what can people expect from your latest book?
Everywhere I go, whenever it's a small business or a large business, people say, well, we've tried that before, or it's not in the budget, or whatever it might be. And they put all these self-imposed limitations, and they put obstacles in their way, and they use those as crutches for why they can't do things. And I'm just here to say, you can do whatever you want to do. You just have to make the choices to do it. And this is my way of saying it's time for you to run over those obstacles, run through them, run around them, eliminate them, whitewash them, whatever you have to do in order to make things move. But that's what you need to do. If you want to be successful in this world, you're not going to be lucky. Lucky people don't win. As a few, come on, give me a break. But by and large, the most successful people in the world, in everything that they do, is they were relentless. They are relentless. The people that win the gold medal for skiing, the people that become billionaires, they do so not because they're lucky, but because they practice and because they do it day in and day out. And that's what this book is all about. It's about how to be relentless and how to think big, but more importantly than just think big, because I know lots of people who think big, it's about acting bigger, and that's getting it done. And Jan, if I can say, some people will even say, well, Jeff, that's hard. Well, yeah, it's called hard work because it's freaking hard. That's the reason why they call it hard work, And so that's what this whole book's about, is to give you permission to run over those obstacles, to get them out of the way and make it happen.
And Jeffrey, I have a confession to make to you, because I love the title of your book, because actually I remember when I started this podcast last spring and I wrote the description for iTunes, I believe, if I remember correctly, that I finished the description with a sentence that was dream big and do bigger, something like that. So when I read the title of your book, I was like, okay, so great minds really think alike.
Yeah, let's just say we just came to that on our own conclusion. We didn't steal each other's stuff, but we should have. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but Jeffrey, there is another thing that I really, really like about what you do, and it's actually on your site. We're going to be talking about your book more in a second, but there is this thing on your site that I really want to put out there to make sure that I don't forget to ask you about that. Because in one of the sections of your site, I believe it's in the homepage, if I remember correctly, you have this part where you say something or kind of you share your thoughts with us, and you basically say what you would tell to your 22-year-old or to your 22-year-old self, I should say. So Jeffrey, what would you tell to the younger version of yourself, as well as to all the listeners who are here with you and I? And maybe there are some people who are just starting out in their entrepreneurial journey. I mean, you have already hinted some things when you told us more about your book, but still.
Well, I think the biggest, there's a couple of things I keep saying. I change those almost every single day, because every day we learn something new, not just about ourselves, but about the things that we do. I mean, that's one of the most important things about being a great entrepreneur, is the learnings that we get to take, or the keeps that we get to bring back every single day. And the first thing I'd tell myself when I was younger is, first of all, be you.
Right.
Be you. You don't. It's great to listen to people like myself and to other people that you might admire, but be you, develop your own sense of you and your own story and live inside that story. Someone said, Jeff, you just tell it like it is. I said, well, it's hard enough to be someone else. Why it's hard enough to be myself. Why would I want to be someone else?
Right.
And so it's really about developing that good sense and quit worrying about what other people think. That's a big one for a lot of people, and with that means just second guessing yourself and so forth. Even if you do it wrong, you're still heading and you're doing something, and that's one of the other things I tell people that are entrepreneurs. They say, "Oh, I want to fail fast." No, you want to win fast. Don't fail fast, win fast. Failing's for losers. I want you to have a mentality around winning. And by thinking forward about that's what I'm going to do no matter what, even if I do fail, I'm going to win because it's just another reason of not to do it, right? And then the last thing is around focus, is develop a real good sense of laser focus around what you're doing and what you need to do. And you need to shut off all the distractions that occur in your life. I call that in my book, Killing Squirrels. And there's a whole story around that. But those are the things I would say to myself, the biggest ones.
Yeah, and it's nice that you talk about killing squirrels, because you have some kind of hunting analogies in your book. Because I know from the video you have on your site that you say that, I don't want to get this wrong, you are from
South Dakota, right?
I was thinking that, yeah, there was some time to that. And, Jeffrey, to what you told us, I think it's very interesting, because I think that there is somehow kind of a paradox in a way, because if you think about it, for example, now you and I are in different continents, different time zones, are having a fantastic conversation, and it's great, and we can do all this and much more because of technology. So that definitely helps us as entrepreneurs. But at the same time, it can pose obstacles, because like you told us, you have to be sure to be yourself. But sometimes with technology, we listen to podcasts or we watch shows like yours, and maybe we see people that we admire and respect. And like you told us, we should be ourselves and not kind of make this move of maybe comparing our beginning, for example, with somebody else's middle. And then you told us about the importance of really being laser focused. And in the book, you also talk about something that I really love, which is telling bigger stories. And I think that's very, very true, especially I believe when we're starting out, because sometimes we feel like, well, I'm a nobody, or I'm just a small entrepreneur. So why should I think big? Should I act bigger? So Jeffrey, to all the people who are here with you and I, what would you tell them why they should think big and tell bigger stories than those they may be thinking about right now?
Well, think about the fact of where I'm from. I'm from South Dakota, a place even the folks in the United States who live here don't even know where it's at. It's a spot. It's a spot that most people don't know on the map. There are more people watching the Indianapolis 500 the day of the race than our entire state of South Dakota. Even though it's a very big state, I think it's probably bigger than Finland. I'll have to go and look in terms of size, but it's pretty big. But yet, we have less than 700,000 people in that particular state. Mm-hmm. But yet, I've gone on to become a Fortune 100 officer, to host my own primetime television show, to have the #1 television show, the #1 business podcast, best-selling books. I've bought and sold hundreds of businesses in my career. And why is that? Well, because I live a bigger story. Because when I was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I said, geez, I could be doing this in another state. I could be doing this in another part of the country. I could be doing this around the world. And pretty soon I figured out that I was no different than anyone else. And those successful people I was seeing in Wall Street, I was starting to meet them, and I was starting to learn from them, and I was starting to do business with them. And I realized I'm just as good, if not better, than they are. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I mean by telling a bigger story. So let's say your business is in Finland today. Well, why can't you start selling your product in Sweden, or to Norway, or to Germany, right, or to the UK, or to China? And you could become the next Nokia. You could become the next big company that dominates your particular industry. Now, the key thing is to keep adapt, change, or die, or you could end up like one of those companies that isn't
Right.
as successful as it. And that's a whole nother podcast we could talk about. But the point here is you're only limited by the story you tell. So if your story is, I'm a small little entrepreneur, then all you're going to be is a small little entrepreneur. If you have a story which says, I've created the next big whatever, fill in the blank, well, then you can go worldwide and you can be bigger than you ever expected to be. Well, I choose to be bigger because I can. And that's really what it takes, is you just say, because I can.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the passion with which you talk about that, Jeffrey, and how you try also to push other people to really step outside their comfort zone, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, and really take actions, and not only just take action, but really take bigger action, if I can dare to say so. And you talked about the importance really of being you, and you told us earlier also about, the importance of being focused, or removing all distractions. And that's also something you talk about actually in the book. You have a part where you talk about developing one's flow. So I wanted to ask you, Jeffrey, if you could share some of your knowledge on that topic here with us. So if somebody is listening to you and I, maybe, they are starting out and they're thinking, okay, so I have these great ideas. I have this, fire inside of me that I really want to do it, but I'm still not sure how to develop my flow. What are the first steps you think they should take, Jeffrey?
Well, think about the cadence of which you want to work. If you watch a television show, you can see the energy of the show, whether it's fast-paced or it's a slow pace. Well, same thing. I can walk into a business and tell the business cadence if it's a fast-growing business just by watching the people. Mm-hmm. And just by seeing what they do and how they interact and how fast they get back on email. It's like right. In my operation in the office, someone will say, Jeff, it's cold in here. I say, well, work harder. And it's a little bit of a statement, in my right. way of saying, quit complaining, just get going, mm-hmm. And that's really what you want to be able to develop. So what's the mood that you want to have in your company? And with that's that cadence. And then that all becomes part of your culture and the way in which you want to serve people and be served.
Okay, I like it. And I also, again, I really like how you push people to be the best versions, or the best version, I should say, of themselves. And another thing I actually made a note here to ask you about in the book is you talk about the importance of knowing what one doesn't know. So again, Jeffrey, yeah. I mean, I think it's a very key point there, especially as you told us earlier about the importance of, adapting and all these things. So why all the people who are here with you and I should really take a moment to kind of get to know what they actually don't know and why that matters?
Well, I think you just said it right there. I don't know what I don't know. Mm-hmm. See, and it's a great statement to be able to say. A lot of people have opinions about everything. Well, I have opinion about it, but I might not have a fact about it, or I might not truly know that's what it means. I think great leaders go into business and around the things that they do with a constant state of awareness. They don't go into meetings to hear from their teams, for instance, and already know the answer. Mm-hmm. They might end up coming to a conclusion, but they go into it with, I don't know what I don't know, so that they can go in this with this constant state of awareness to be able to help to change, adapt that business, or they die. And that's really the three options. You either change, you adapt, or you die. So what good business leaders do is they say, I don't know. And then they go look for the right kinds of answers, and they listen and they watch and they use all their senses to be able to come up with a better answer, a better way, a newer way, a changing way, an adapting way. And that makes for a much stronger business.
I love it. So make sure to really to take Jeffrey's insight here, really take a moment to really look at your business, or if you're about to get started, just look at your business plan, look at what you don't know and leverage that to your advantage. And Jeffrey, early on, you told us more about C-suite, and you told us about networking, and you told us you're on LinkedIn and why you started what you started when it came to really connect with other entrepreneurs, colleagues, thought leaders. So what tips do you have for the listeners who are here with you and I when it comes to networking, when it comes to, maybe I dare to say, tap into the brain of people such yourself? What can they do to really learn from yourself and other, colleagues of yours and still be, their own version, if that makes sense?
Well, you can try on the coat. You always like to try on someone's coat. It doesn't always fit. Mm-hmm. But it keeps you warm, and it keeps you, keeps you protected from the elements. And that's what you want to be able to do. You learn from other people. You learn the way in which it can fit you, and you can then find your own way of being able to develop your own coat, your own suit of clothes. And when it comes to networking, you just suck it up. You should be like a huge vacuum cleaner trying to suck up as much information as you possibly can to get this input all the time. And it never stops. I might be at the top of my field in terms of what I do and how I do it. And I can say that as a brash American, to say that, look, I know what I do and I know I do it really well. But at the same time, I'm always reading. I read on average 2 books a week. Mm-hmm. I listen to podcasts. I don't waste my time, wasting my time.
Right.
I spend my time trying to do as many things as I can to be as efficient as possible. And even when I'm resting, I'm thinking about ways to improve or making lists or reaching out. Even though I might have, a couple hundred people who contact me a day, to link in with me, or, I average 1,200 new Twitter followers a day. I still spend the time every day reaching out to new people myself. And, and I even get criticized because I follow as many people as follow me on Twitter. And someone said, why? I said, because I think that, one, that's the polite thing to do. And then because you've asked me to you following me, why wouldn't I want to follow you? You seem like an interesting guy or gal or whatever. So I spend time doing that. And, and I just think that's the right thing for you to be doing. So as an entrepreneur or someone listening to this podcast, what are you doing to link in? If you linked into 5 new people a day times 365, my gosh, that's like 1,700 new people that you've made contact with.
Right.
If you have 20 people who work for you, and they each do 5 a day, well, that's 17,000 people, 36,000 new people that you're going to link to in a given year. Wow.
Yeah.
Those are all potential customers. Why wouldn't you be doing that?
Right. Yeah, you're so right, Jeffrey. And, I want to add my own 2 cents here, because maybe there are people who are thinking about networking, or they may have a podcast or whatever, and they may think, okay, it must be so difficult to break the ice, to start a conversation with people such as yourself. But I have to say, you and I connected through Twitter, and now here we are. We are chatting. We are having a great conversation. And really, Jeffrey, thank you so much for sharing your expertise here with us. I've really appreciated it. And again, I want to remind everybody, make sure to grab a copy of Jeffrey's new book, Think Big, Act Bigger, The Rewards of Being Relentless. And if you're an audiobook person, you can also get it courtesy of today's sponsor, Audible. You find the link to that, to Jeffrey's website, and everything else we have discussed here in the show notes. And Jeffrey, to wrap up, I have 2 quick questions for you. The first one is, I'm sure that people here have been so motivated and inspired. People are ready to take action, ready to network. And I'm sure many people would like to network with you, or maybe ask you a question, or simply say thank you for this conversation. So what is the best and quickest way to do that? Is it through Twitter, maybe?
Well, they can reach me by any which way that you like to communicate. That's the way we like to communicate. So if you want to reach out to me by email, you want to reach to me by Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I don't care, LinkedIn. Just go ahead and do it. I'll accept you, and we'll be chatting just like we did here today. That's how we got started.
Right. Yes. So whether that's Twitter, email, Instagram, with a pigeon, whatever is best for you, make sure to get in touch with Jeffrey to connect with him. And the final question I have for you, Jeffrey, is actually to take a moment and tell the listeners more about your show, because people not only can get tips from you on social media, they can get tips from your speaking engagements, from your books, but you also have your show, All Business with Jeffey Hayzlett. So what can you tell us about your show?
Well, that's a show every week I do with leading leaders and celebrities and thought leaders that you find, or major heads of companies or entrepreneurs that I find, very famous people, so to speak. And I sit down with them and we talk a business of their business. And so we pick it apart and we have a lot of good conversation. So every single week, you can find us on iTunes, or you can find us on CBS Play.it or C-Suite Radio. Every single week I sit down with folks. And then also I have a television show, 2 shows, one called The C-Suite with Jeffey Hayzlett, which we're in filming now, and then also Executive Perspectives. You can see us on 4 different seasons a year, and we've got some new episodes that are coming out every single week.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that, Jeffrey. So regardless of if you're a person who likes to read, if you want to connect on social media, podcasts, TV shows, you have many different ways to connect and learn from Jeffey Hayzlett. Jeffrey, thank you so much for being here with us, for sharing your expertise and your story, for telling us more about all the great things you do, in particular your new book, Think Big, Act Bigger. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being a part of this, and thanks for letting me join not only Finland, but the world around. It was awesome.
And we are back. Jeffrey, thank you so much for this fantastic conversation and for sharing your wisdom, your expertise with all of us. I really, really appreciate it. And you heard it during the conversation with Jeffrey. We mentioned his new book, Think Big, Act Bigger, The Rewards of Being Relentless. And I said it. Today's episode is brought to you by Audible.com. So if audiobooks are your kind of thing and you would like to dive into Jeffrey's book, you can get it for free as an audiobook version, courtesy of Audible. So make sure to go to the show notes for this episode over at janilunga.com/episode 147. And you're going to find there a button that you can simply click, sign up for Audible completely for free, and you get access to their entire catalog of audiobooks for an entire month. Plus, you can choose any audiobook you want completely for free. So, obviously, today I want to recommend Jeffey Hayzlett's Think Big, Act Bigger, The Rewards of Being Relentless. This is it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, for joining Jeffrey and I here on the 360 Entrepreneur Podcast. In case you're on Twitter and we haven't connected yet, make sure to let me know that you're there. Happy to follow you back. Happy to learn more about what you do. You find me at the Yanni Lunga. Thank you so much again and have a fantastic day.
Thank you for listening to the 360 Entrepreneur Podcast. For more tips and tools, head over to www.360entrepreneur.net.